The Grand Hall of the Zalari Empire was known across the stars. It was carved from black crystal, shining with lights from strange alien moons. The floor reflected everything like a mirror, and above, giant symbols of power hung in the air, spinning, glowing, alive. The hall had seen kings kneel, empires surrender, and planets beg for mercy. But today it was quiet. Too quiet. Billions of beings watched the scene live through galactic streams. Every eye in the galaxy was focused on that throne room, not because of the alien rulers who sat above the rest, not because of their golden robes or their floating crowns, but because of him. One man, one human, standing alone in front of the throne. His name was Darren Voss, and he had no army behind him, no weapons, no backup. He wore a simple black uniform with a silver eagle over the chest. His boots made soft steps on the shining floor as he walked forward. The alien guards didn't move, but their hands hovered near their weapons. Everyone in that room, everyone watching from far away, waited to see what he would say. Some believed he had come to surrender. Some believed he would beg. Others believed he had lost his mind. But Darren's eyes were calm, cold, focused, as if he had already seen the end. The Empress of the Zalari sat on the highest throne, her skin glowing like burning gold. Her 6 eyes blinked slowly as she studied the human. She was known as the Voice of Order, the one who had crushed 10 worlds with a single word. She leaned forward slightly. "You are the last voice of Earth?" she asked, her voice echoing. In the hall. Darren looked up at her. "I am the warning," he replied. The hall went silent. The Empress narrowed her eyes. "Warning?" Darren nodded once. "Earth is not yours to take." The other alien rulers laughed. Deep, cruel, echoing laughter. One, a large lizard-like being with metal scales, slammed his claw on the chair. "Your kind is weak. You send one man to speak for a planet?" he said. Darren did not react. "You attacked our colonies. You killed our people. You burned our homes. And now, you think Earth will fall like the others? You have no fleet," the Empress said, amused. "No allies, your systems are dark. Your defenses, broken. You should be on your knees." Darren looked straight at her. "You made one mistake. And what is that? You left Earth for last." The room fell into silence again. Somewhere far away, deep in unmarked space, a small satellite blinked on for the first time in 200 years. Its signal reached a forgotten human station hidden in an asteroid field. Lights turned green. Systems hummed awake. Back in the throne room, a young alien officer stepped close to one of the rulers and whispered something. The ruler's expression changed slightly. Confused. Concerned. The Empress noticed. "What is it?" she asked. The officer hesitated. "Something is happening near the Sol system. We've lost contact with 2 scout ships." The Empress waved it off. "Meaningless. Humans are playing with shadows." Darren raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" The Empress turned her gaze back to him. "You think you can scare me with silence?" "No," Darren said. "Silence is what comes after." His voice was quiet, but it hit like thunder. Across the galaxy, people leaned forward in their seats. Some gasped, others shook their heads, unable to believe a human would dare speak like that to the rulers of the most powerful empire known. A second alien general stood. His eyes were red and 2 long horns curled from his head. "You threaten us with riddles?" he growled. "Speak clearly, human, or die." Darren slowly turned to face him. "You will not die today, but you will remember this moment for the rest of your short life." The general's eyes flared. He stepped forward, but the Empress raised her hand. "Let him speak," she said. Darren looked around the room. "You all believe power comes from fleets, from weapons, from fear. You believe Earth is just another world, a resource, a target." He paused. "But Earth has a rule. A very old one." He stepped forward. "Do not touch our home. Your home? One ruler hissed. It is already under our watch. Darren smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then get ready to lose everything. At that exact moment, across the Empire's outer systems, human-built devices hidden for decades came online, invisible to scanners, forgotten by time, now activated by one signal, Darren's voice. The Empress rose from her throne. Is this a bluff? Darren stared at her. 7 days, leave human space, or what comes next will not stop. Your kind hides behind fear, she said. We burned 10 civilizations bigger than yours. Darren's face stayed calm. And we've survived every empire that tried? He began to turn. 7 days. You walk out now, the Empress said, and you do not return. Darren paused at the edge of the hall. I won't have to. He walked out. Not rushed, not afraid. Behind him, the rulers whispered among themselves. The Empress sat down again, but her fingers tapped her throne nervously. Across the galaxy, some leaders called it madness, others called it bravery. But everyone agreed they had seen something in Darren's eyes, something dark, something final. On Earth, in the deepest command center below the oceans, red lights lit up. Massive vault doors opened. Inside, weapons that hadn't been touched in 500 years began to warm. Ancient AIs booted up. Names like Titan, Vanguard, and Black Echo glowed across old screens. The Empress called a meeting with her council. She wanted to send a warning fleet to the edge of human space. To remind them of their place, she said. But some of her generals were quiet. One of them, a veteran of the First Outer War, said, I've seen this before. This is how Earth fights. They don't speak loudly. They don't show everything. They wait. And then they strike where it hurts the most. The Empress dismissed him. She believed in numbers and strength. Earth had no fleet left, no support, no chance. She believed Darren Voss was alone. She didn't know the truth. Darren had never been alone. He was the last message before the storm. The chamber was still. The silence that followed Darren's departure felt strange, almost heavy. The rulers, once loud and proud, now whispered among themselves. No one admitted fear. But something had changed. His words stayed in the air like smoke. Far away, in a quiet control room beneath Earth's surface, an old man sat in front of glowing blue screens. His hands moved slowly, typing in codes only a few people alive remembered. Around him, huge machines hummed to life, ancient and powerful. He paused for a moment, looking at a small photo on his desk. An old picture of Earth before the stars, when wars were still fought on land and skies. He whispered to himself, He's bought us time. Let's not waste it. All over the Sol system, deep beneath the oceans, hidden inside moons or buried under lifeless asteroids, old systems came alive. They had waited for years in the dark. Now they had a signal. The signal. In a quiet garden on Mars, a group of students watched the speech replay again. Some thought Darren had been foolish. Others felt something stir inside them, something they didn't understand. A strange pride. One young girl asked her teacher, Was he serious? The teacher smiled faintly. If you know Earth's past, then yes. He meant every word. Back in the throne world of the Zalari, the Empress gathered her inner council. No recording devices were allowed. The doors shut with a deep thud, and a strange glow filled the room. Each of her advisors had seen 100 battles. They had ruled over 100 species. She looked at each of them. Tell me what we missed. One advisor, small but with glowing eyes, spoke softly. We studied their ships, their weapons, their movements. But we forgot to study their silence. Another one added, They stopped speaking to the galaxy. They cut off their trade. They closed their borders, and we assumed it was weakness. Maybe they were preparing. A third leaned forward. We should send more scouts now, before their systems go dark again. She nodded. Do it. But when the scouts entered human space, they found nothing. Just silence. No ships, no stations, just empty paths and quiet systems. It was as if humanity had vanished or hidden everything. Some of the scouts didn't return. Those who did whispered strange stories, of shadows that moved too quickly, of strange signals that made their ships act strangely, of machines floating, in empty space, still but watching. The Empress began to understand something she had never faced before: uncertainty. Meanwhile, Darren Voss was not resting. He had returned to a ship hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons. It was not large, but its systems were old and trusted. It held history, records, codes, and connections to places long thought forgotten. He stood at a round table with others, each one different: old admirals, deep space engineers, tacticians from forgotten human colonies. They had not spoken in years. But now, they were here. Called back by one word: home. One of them spoke first. She will not listen. Darren nodded. She doesn't need to. Another asked, then why give her time? Darren looked at a screen showing Earth slowly turning in space. Because it's what we are. We don't act without giving others a choice, even if they ignore it. They all stared at the planet. Beautiful. Blue. Alone. But never truly alone. The old admiral smiled. It's time then. Darren pressed his hand to the center of the table. A map of the galaxy appeared. Red zones showed areas under alien control, but slowly, dots of light blinked to life. Quiet signals, ancient systems, all waking up again. The lights were few, but they were enough. Far from all of them, on a peaceful moon under alien control, a human family sat in silence. They were some of the last civilians not taken or moved. The father looked at the stars and whispered, "They're coming." His son asked, "Who?" He replied without looking away, "Us." And for the first time in years he smiled. A soft blue light flickered above the planet Earth, almost unnoticed in the quiet of space. But somewhere, someone was watching. Deep under the ice crust of Europa, far beneath the frozen silence, machines that hadn't moved in centuries began to hum. Lights blinked in old control rooms, symbols scrolled across cracked screens. Dust drifted through the air as ancient systems came to life, silent, steady, and exact. In the heart of it all stood a woman named Sarah Kale. She had no rank, no medals, and no title, but her knowledge of Earth's oldest defense systems was unmatched. She ran her fingers across a rusted panel and whispered, "Signal received. All units. Waking." Far away, in orbit around Saturn, a group of engineers floated inside a forgotten human platform, disguised as an abandoned satellite. They were the Watchers, quiet observers scattered across the galaxy. They had seen the signs. Now they were waiting for the call. When the message arrived, it didn't say much, just 3 words: prepare, stay hidden. They knew what it meant. On the throne world of the alien rulers, uncertainty spread like a quiet storm. Their top minds searched for answers in their vast databases. They couldn't understand why humanity had gone quiet for decades. Why would a species that once fought to be noticed suddenly disappear from trade, diplomacy, and even war? Some believed humans had lost their way. Others, now, feared they were simply waiting. The Empress held a private meeting with her most trusted strategist. He was known only as Varlin, and his face was always hidden behind a silver veil. "They are shadows," he said calmly. "You don't see their strength until it's already too late." "But we have numbers," the Empress replied. "And they have patience," Varlin answered. Meanwhile, in the outer rim of human territory, a lone ship drifted quietly through a system long thought empty. The ship had no name, no flag. Its hull was covered in strange markings, some human, some not. Inside, Darren stood at the front window, looking at a gas giant slowly spinning in the distance. He wasn't alone. A voice spoke from the shadows, behind him. "They're scanning the edges again." Darren nodded. Let them see silence." The voice continued. "What if they cross the line?" Darren turned slowly. "Then we'll remind them why silence should not be mistaken for weakness." In hidden bases across the galaxy, humans met in secret. Some were young, trained in old traditions. Others were elders, remembering times when humanity stood alone. They didn't talk about war. They talked about readiness, about duty, about returning home when called. On Earth, the people had not panicked. There were no alarms, no sirens. But everyone could feel it. Something was changing. The skies seemed quieter. The news stations spoke carefully. Schools taught more about history than ever before. In the center of the city, once called Geneva, an ancient hall opened its doors after 70 years. Inside, a great table stood untouched, covered by a glass shield. On it were the names of those who once led humanity through its darkest times. Now, new names were being written next to them. In a quiet home near the Atlantic coast, a grandmother told her grandchildren an old story. When the stars turned cold and no friends remained, Earth stood tall. We didn't shout, we didn't scream, we whispered, and even that whisper was enough. Her youngest grandchild asked, "But what if they don't listen this time?" She looked up at the sky and smiled. "Then they'll hear more than a whisper." At the edge of known space, a faint pulse echoed through the void. A signal, repeating in patterns long forgotten. The aliens intercepted it but couldn't decode its meaning. To them, it was just static. But to humans scattered across the stars, it was a call to return. A reminder. Home is not given, it is protected, and it was almost time. The stars outside. The command bridge twinkled like distant promises. Captain Jalen Mira stood silently, watching the endless dark sea of space. Her ship, small but agile, drifted near the edge of a human outpost long forgotten by others but guarded fiercely by those who remembered. She was not here by chance. The orders came straight from Earth's highest council, whispered only to a few. Earth was not yet ready to reveal its full strength, but the time was coming, and Jalen was their first step. The ship's sensors beeped softly. A small fleet was moving beyond the outer rim, alien scouts silent and careful. They believed the humans were weak. They believed Earth was quiet. Jalen's lips tightened. "They will learn soon enough," she said to herself. Inside the ship, her crew was a mix of veterans and new faces. Each one trained for moments like this, when the galaxy was watching but did not yet know what to expect. The youngest pilot, a boy named Tano, tapped his fingers nervously on the console. "Captain," he said quietly, "what if they find us?" Jalen turned, her eyes calm but sharp. "Then we remind them why we do not hide forever." At the same time, far below Earth's atmosphere, scientists in the great underground labs worked on something old and powerful, an ancient machine long buried beneath the ice of Antarctica. They called it the heartbeat. It was said to be a device built by humanity's ancestors, something to protect Earth in times of greatest danger. No one knew exactly how it worked. Some thought it was just legend. Tonight the machine stirred. A low hum filled the lab as lights flickered and wires sparked gently. The lead scientist, Dr. Lin, watched the readings grow stronger. "It's waking up," she whispered. "The heartbeat is back." Meanwhile, on the alien homeworld, the Empress paced her chamber. Her thoughts were heavy. The humans were not just silent. They were active. Their moves were slow but certain, like a river carving through rock. Her advisors gathered again, whispering of strategy and fear. "We must strike before they grow strong," one urged. "No," the Empress replied firmly. "We must understand them first." In a small room on the ship near Jupiter's moon, Darren and Sarah stood over a holographic map of the galaxy. Red marks showed alien-controlled systems. Blue marks, the hidden human colonies. A single white dot pulsed steadily. "Earth," Darren said. "Our heart." Sarah nodded. "The pulse is strong, but if we strike too soon, everything could be lost." He turned to her. "Then we wait." Outside, the stars seemed to hold their breath. Back on Earth, people watched the sky. No one knew what the future held, but a quiet hope grew. Schools taught history, families shared stories of old battles and old peace. It was a world on the edge, between fear and faith. The moon above glowed softly, as if lighting the way for those returning home. The whispers across the galaxy grew louder, but still, no one spoke openly. Until one day, a signal broke through the silence. It was simple, it was clear, it said only one thing: Earth is awake. The signal spread like a soft wave through the dark reaches of space. It was faint, almost like a whisper carried on the cosmic wind, but it stirred something deep within the hearts of those who heard it. Across distant star systems, humans paused and looked up, remembering a time long past and a promise made to the stars. In a hidden command center beneath Earth's surface, Darren stood watching the screens flicker. The map glowed with points of light, human outposts slowly waking from a long sleep. Each light was a voice, a promise, a piece of the old world coming back to life. Beside him, Sarah's fingers danced over the controls, linking ancient networks, long forgotten by the galaxy. "They won't expect this," she said softly. "They think we are gone, but we are just beginning." Far from Earth, on the edge of a quiet nebula, a small fleet gathered. The ships were old, built in a time when humans dreamed of reaching the stars. They carried the hope of a new generation. The pilots, young and determined, listened to the broadcast that echoed through their comms. "Prepare for the return," the message said. "The time of silence is over. Stand ready. Protect what is ours." Captain Jalen Mira tightened her grip on the control panel. "This is our moment," she said. "We've waited long enough. It's time to remind them who we are." On the alien homeworld, the Empress faced a council that grew restless. Reports came in of strange movements near the borders, human, ships flickering in and out of sensors, unexpected and fast. The counselors exchanged worried looks. "Are we ready for war?" one asked quietly. The Empress shook her head. "We must first understand our opponent. They have changed. We must not repeat the mistakes of the past." In the quiet halls of Earth's ancient libraries, scholars worked to decode messages from their ancestors. Old languages, lost technology, and forgotten wisdom were being pieced together. Each discovery was a step closer to understanding the true power hidden beneath their feet. Among them, a young linguist named Lyra found a faded scroll. It spoke of the heartbeat, an ancient device meant to protect Earth and its people. Her eyes widened as she realized what it meant. "This is more than legend," she said. "It's a warning." Meanwhile, families across the world watched the night sky with new hope. Children pointed at stars they never noticed before. Elders told stories of old heroes who stood before great threats and never backed down. And in a small home on the outskirts of a sleepy town, a boy named Kai listened closely to his grandmother's stories. "When the stars seem quiet," she said, "it means they are listening. And when they listen, they prepare." Kai smiled, feeling the warmth of her words. He looked outside at the sky, where a single bright star shone more clearly than the hearty. Back in space, Darren received a coded message from an unknown source. It was short and simple. "Welcome back." He stared at the screen, a smile breaking across his face. After years of waiting, humanity was ready to step into the light once more. The galaxy had forgotten Earth's strength, but Earth never forgot itself. The silence of space was breaking, not with noise or fire, but with purpose. Across the vast darkness, ships moved like shadows, carrying the quiet strength of a people who had waited patiently for their moment. The humans were no longer hidden. They were ready. Captain Jalen Mira stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the distant stars with calm eyes. "We carry more than weapons," she said softly to her crew. We carry hope. We carry the future. Her crew nodded, understanding that this mission was about more than power. It was about sending a message, clear and strong, that Earth would protect what was theirs. On Earth, the heartbeat machine pulsed steadily beneath the ice. Its soft glow reached into the deep, awakening the planet's ancient defenses. Scientists and leaders gathered, watching as old systems hummed back to life. It was a reminder that humanity's roots ran deep, connected to a legacy of survival and strength. In the alien council chambers, the Empress faced the choice of a lifetime. Her advisors urged caution. The humans are returning, they warned. We must act before they grow too strong. But the Empress shook her head. No, we will not start a war without understanding. If they come with peace, we will listen. Above the council chamber, the skies darkened briefly as a fleet of ships entered the system. They were not the massive war machines the galaxy expected. They were sleek, fast and precise, designed for defense, for protection, and for survival. Darren stood with Sarah, watching the fleet assemble. This is what we waited for, he said quietly. This is the dawn of a new era. Suddenly, a message echoed across all channels, simple and clear. We return not to conquer, but to protect. Earth is our home, and we will defend it with all we have. The galaxy paused. For a moment, no one moved. The message was not a threat. It was a promise. Back on Earth, children looked up at the night sky, seeing stars brighter than before. They did not know what the future held, but they felt the strength of those who came before them. They felt hope. In a quiet room, an elder smiled as he listened to the broadcasts. They have returned, he said softly. Not with anger, but with courage. And far beyond the known stars, the humans stood united, ready to face whatever came next. Not with weapons raised, but with hearts open and strong. The galaxy had forgotten the true spirit of Earth, but Earth remembered, and now it was awake.